walks away, and perhaps he doesn't become. I think it perhaps sort of likes to keep open the idea that he doesn't go on to kind of fulfil this kind of ridiculous celebrity American dream, but that he walks away at least feeling that his soul and his integrity are intact, and it really doesn't matter what becomes of him commercially after that.
The thing I like best about the movie actually is its look. That kind of dark, low camera thing that he does. I'm no film critic, but even I noticed it. Really gave a sense that growing up poor and white ain't so great either. A very, very important message. Race is the great horror of American society, but class is its great secret.
Despite the film's massive success, audiences across the world were unsure as to where the line between fact and fiction lay in 8 Mile.
Well, 8 Mile is, Eminem wouldn't quite say it was biography, but it's pretty close. I think in true Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, Eminem show fashion, he said, "This isn't my story, it's a story of a white rapper from Detroit trying to make it in 1995. Well, that sounds familiar.
8 Mile is M's crazy, I can't get sued version, I guess you would call it. Not real. I mean, the characters that were in there were based on a few people like me, Cheddar Bob, Proof, Bizarre, to a lot of the cats. But most of the whole movie, I'd say probably about 95% of it ain't true. 5% is. I never shot myself in the leg. The paintball gun incident was, I think, was a true story, but they did get caught. They made it like they got away with it. That's what, he was Rabbit, He wasn't even Eminem, As I don't even know where he got Cheddar Bob from, to be honest with you. Can't use my real name, so he's gonna make up an alias name for me to get away with it, Have someone come in and play the role. Do I look like Cheddar Bob from the movie? Don't even dress like the guy.
I think it's pretty safe to see it as a, fairly accurate biography, but again, anything coming out of Hollywood is going to be, altered from reality for cinematic effect.
One of the really compelling things and one of the really fun things about Eminem and his music and his life is trying to find out where that line is, where his experience, his true experience ends and the way he wished it had been begins. Because it's all got some truth in it somewhere, but the question is, how much?
The overwhelming success of 8 Mile and its soundtrack gained Eminem a new audience who had previously remained unconvinced by the Detroit rapper's work.
8 Mile had a ton of benefits for Eminem. I mean, more money, first of all, more exposure. It helped his next album go big time. And it showed off that not only is he a talented musician, but he's a great actor as well. But I think there's, for him, a bigger advantage out of the whole thing, which is that it humanized him. People who may have dismissed him because they thought his music was vile, people who may have discarded him as something for kids, actually saw a classic story of somebody struggling against the odds to make it and then succeeding. I think it showed a lot of parents who probably rolled their eyes or turned down the volume when their kids were listening to Eminem, that there really is a more complex person there, that he is, in fact, a person and not a devil who's out to turn their children against them. And I think if Eminem is going to have any chance of appealing to the next generation, to the older generation, this movie was his chance. This was his opportunity to show that there is a complete, real person there, flesh and blood.
There's an irony about 8 Mile in that he does glean a wider audience who perhaps think that there is more to Eminem than they'd imagined, whereas in fact, in order to get that audience, he presents actually less of Eminem than there actually is.
I think it was very important in terms of his public persona. On the other hand, I also think that one of the reasons that Encore took a nosedive in terms of its credibility was that then people, it mainstreamed him in a way that enabled the hip-hop cognoscenti, intelligentsia, the true fans, etc., to say, he's over, he's sold out. Which I think in the end it could have hurt him, but there isn't any question that in the short run, it really is what made him legitimate in the culture.
I just got my own label deal with Interscope Records. It's called Shady Records. And I got a group called D12 that I'm bringing out. That's like my crew for back home, you know what I'm saying, back in Detroit. And I'm planning on like executive producing them, you know what I'm saying?
In 1999, Eminem moved into production, establishing his own subsidiary label of aftermath, Shady Records.
Eminem has always been a very smart hip-hop artist, and he's sort of branched out and you know, has made sure that he'll have a legacy when he's ready to put down the mic. You know, he started Shady Records right away. He has his clothing line. You know, he's really just making sure that when he is done talking, he's got other things to do. He's a great producer already. Shady was basically, you know, fulfilling a promise in a way. When he and D12 were together, they decided that whoever made it and got a record deal would basically come back for the rest of them.
D12 was Shady Records' first signing. The Detroit-based crew had originally formed in the early 90s, when a still unknown Marshall Mathers had met Proof.
Proof is his sort of mentor and really was like his, you know, his Dr. Dre for Detroit. You know, he was the guy who gave him, in the independent hip-hop circles, a bit of authenticity, or, you know, he had to have some kind of stamp of approval from somebody in the community who was a respected MC and a respected character around the scene, and that's what he got in Proof. You know, Proof believed in him when a lot of other people were like, you know, get the mic away from the white boy kind of thing. So they formed a group, all of them.
I think the first incarnation of D12 came together around 96, or maybe early 96, and members were Eminem, aka Billy the Kid, which got changed later. I think he picked a better moniker a little later. There was Proof, aka Dirty Harry. Let me see if I can get all these right. There was B-Flat was a member at one point in time, and Dirty Rat, another guy from Detroit, was a member at the time, and I think IQ was a member, and Bizarre was a member. I'm pretty sure that was the first incarnation of D12. And then pretty quickly into it, I think Con Artist and Conniver entered into the game, and I think last but not least, well, Bugs came later, and then last but not least, Swifty replaced Bugs. Rest in peace.
D12 started out with the moniker Dirty Dozen, but it soon became apparent that the fledgling group would have to change their name.
Well, D12 was shortened to D12 from Dirty Dozen. The first time I heard Dirty Dozen, I told him, you know, I think you're going to have legal problems with that name. You know, there's a Dirty Dozen brass band that's a jazz group that, you know, they go under the moniker Dirty Dozen. You know what I mean? So that, and I think there's a movie called Dirty Dozen. I think I definitely had a conversation with him early on that could be problems. So D12 was, I don't know if I influenced that at all, but D12 got shortened probably for marketing reasons, maybe you know, maybe just for the way it sounds too.
Everyone had to come with their true rap persona, and they had to come up with an alter ego. So you know, you've got 6 guys, 2 personas, that's 12. And that's what they did. And Eminem's was Slim Shady. And the story is that he had to think of his persona, and he was home on the toilet, and that's where it happened. You know, it's a throne of sorts, I suppose, and that's where Slim Shady was born. And once he had it, he just thought of